is for the CSBR.
My name is Hiba, and I'm a member of the Women's Rights Club. Today is an international campaign to promote human rights across Muslim societies. Human rights also include sexual and reproductive rights. And these rights have been under attack in all Muslim societies. Why? Rising conservatism, fueled by militarism, increasing inequalities, the politicization of religion, Islamophobia, all these have strengthened patriarchal and extremist religious ideologies.
You see, when you provide a service, a health service, be it a service within a clinic or a service which is information or a service with knowledge, you aim at two things. You either aim to reduce harm that you foresee on people, or you aim to improve their wellness of the people. Over the past 50 years, as I said, none of this we did not reduce harm and would not improve the wellness of the people as far as their sexual health is concerned. As I'm speaking now, we have probably one of the highest numbers of prevalence of sexual infections in Lebanon and everywhere. We're talking about at least 500 million cases of sexual infections that are either curable infections or non-curable, like HIV/AIDS and herpes and others. Every individual who is involved in the planning, who is involved at the level of the policy, who is involved at the level of providing service and receiving the service, and I mean service not only clinic, information, knowledge, anything, even lecturing at the university, it has to be framed within a sexual right. I have to admit, adopt, and I have to be convinced that sexual rights is a frame that government is. Why? Because sexual rights guarantees, one, that all individuals are equal irrespective of their sexual preferences.
The point is that, hairlessness versus hairy woman, this is, one small part of a socially created normative regime that binds us as men and as women, specifically as heterosexual men and women, into specific roles and manifestations of femininity and masculinity. This is the way a woman should be, this is the way a man should be, and there's not much, leeway within those definitions. So when we talk about the control of bodies and the control of sexuality, usually we automatically think about what the government or what the state does, what laws the state enacts in order to keep us in line, with things like criminalizing homosexuality or giving reduced sentences to perpetrators of what are commonly known as, honor crimes, quote unquote. But, the state is not the only locus of sexual regulation. I gave a very small example, and that's hair. And hair may seem like a very small and petty example in comparison to things like honor crimes, but it's through the accumulation of these, seemingly innocuous gendered and sexual performances, like necessitating hair removal for women, that we get locked into the, specific roles and identities as men and as women, and all that those roles entail, that ultimately reinforce gendered hierarchies. So these are forms of, social self-regulation. We don't need laws for the regulation of our sexuality. We do it ourselves through these minute, everyday performances.
But the religious institution in Lebanon and the sectarian system are a main obstacle for us as LGBTs, as women, as a person who choose to live their sexuality in a different way. It's an obstacle for us to gain our right and to control our sexualities. Although Lebanon does not adopt religion as the main source of its constitution, yet the sectarian system gives religious institutions the only say regarding to personal status and to marriage, to divorce, and to all issues related to family. Thus, the control over sexuality by sanctifying it or not, by legalizing it or not, according to certain fixed practices and models. And no one can deny the benefit these institutions make out of this out of them controlling these laws of marriage and divorce and the family, benefits like money, like control, like capital, like power over society, it's very obvious to us. Sectarian institutions in Lebanon have always opposed and still oppose and attack everyone who chooses to live his or her sexuality as the way they choose or outside the established heterosexual concept of family and marriage. It's obvious that discrimination and violation and hate we face as lesbian, gays, transgender, transsexual, and bisexual and queers, it comes out because we do not fit in this specific heterosexual institution and because we choose to have control on our bodies and our sexuality and to define our gender and identities. Religious institutions have always accused us of trying to destroy the family, but our only aim is to have control on our bodies, to express our sexuality freely.
Oh, the issue with sexual rights, a lot of the time, the issue of sexuality is tied to a moral issue. Right? It's tied to good and evil, as if there were a good and evil sex act in itself. Right? So when you steal, that's a bad thing to do. When you give to charity, that's a good thing. Same thing with sex. There's good sex that you can have, and there's evil sex that you can have. So, of course, the good sex is the one that leads to children, the one with your partner that you're in love with. It's making love, it's sex with one person, not 2 or 3 people at the same time. It's sex with someone of the opposite gender. It's sex with a condom, etc., etc. The evil sex, the bad sex, is all the other kinds of sex, right? And we all know this: promiscuity, gay sex, anal sex for straight people, in different cultures it manifests in different ways. The basic khulasa, the gist of the topic is that these sets of rights that we are calling for and that we work for guarantee you the right to have amazing, mind-blowing, wonderful sex every single time your whole life. Right? So what does that mean? If we're calling for gay rights, it means we want gay people to have great sex. If we're calling for abortion rights, if we're calling for birth control, if we're asking for sexual health education, if you're educated about sex when you're a teenager, odds are you're going to have better sex. If you're not worried about diseases, you're going to have better sex. If you haven't been abused and you haven't been harassed, and as a woman you don't feel like people are preying on your body all the time, preying with an E, not with an A, then most probably you're going to be able to have much better sex. If you're not worried about virginity and about blood and about الغشاء المبعثون or bakara on your wedding night, then you're going to have great sex. So this is the whole point of what we're talking about. Hala, you come and think about it. I go to my friend and I tell her, I fight for the right of everybody to have amazing sex, no matter who they are. If they want to go and have sex with 1,000 different people, then I fight for their right. That's part of what they do. And she says to me in Nadine, sexual rights equal human rights. If someone's right to have an orgasm is equal to someone's right to have food, shelter, security, a job, equality, etc., etc. And is sex really that important? And think about it for a minute. She has a small point. Is sex really that important when we talk about things? Is it as important as all the other issues that people come and say, we have to work on this, we have to work on that, we have to work on that? Maybe, okay, I would say to her, my right to have amazing sex my entire life is not, as important as food, as shelter, as all. I can live without great sex. Maybe. I hope. Not sure about it. And she says, of course, some things are more important than others, and I would say, okay, fine. If it's so unimportant, then why can't we have it? If it's not that big a deal, it's not as important as shelter and food and water and the environment and climate change, etc., etc., then what's the big deal? Why are you holding it back? Right? It's like you're negotiating with someone, this is not very important, let's not talk about it, let's talk about other things. So if it's not very important, give it to us. Give people the right to have great sex all the time with whoever they want. What is the problem?